This chapter had a surprising amount of content, both big and small, from small details hidden in understated panels to huge character moments and larger ones. And speaking of smaller details, you could click that subscribe button for the understated benefit of more One Piece content. But regardless, let's dive into my review on chapter 996 of One Piece, Island of the Strongest. Going by the order in the chapter, we have Otama swiftly rescue Nami and Usopp while Hihimaru holds off Page One and Ulti with a goal of 3 minutes. Surprisingly effective for the time being, but then again, Ulti and Page One are kinda palling around and not really taking anything seriously, at the moment at least. And speaking of not taking things seriously, despite both being severely injured, Nami has just enough strength to jokingly dismiss Usopp's state, stating that she is fine, with Usopp showing just enough recovery to barely retort in kind. And now we know for a fact that Otama arrived via an enemy ship, but as for the details on how and who else may or may not have been on the ship, we know jack shit. Switching over to Yamato versus Sasaki, we see Sasaki sending his armored squad to whittle down Yamato with surprising success, but not without mass damage to their end. Now, Sasaki nearly joins the fray, and he actually has a pretty unique sword. It looks as if there's a blade wrapped around another blade, but if you look closely, it really does seem like that. And Yamato actually also shows hints of a possible zone transformation, or maybe Yamato's just a dragon. I don't know. You know, hyping off of the, was it Kaido is a dragon for real instead of not a devil fruit? But then again, that would just make it more confusing for Yamato's existence. You know, assuming they are biologically son and father. Why did I say it like that? Either way, they're both ready to go into battle until Frankie crashes the party and just, shatters that nice mood they had going. And I love how Yamato actually recognizes Frankie due to Frankie's wanted poster being of General Frankie as opposed to Frankie himself. That's just a small bit of Oda continuity details that are just, those make my fucking day, And Hacha, he breaks the floor, sending Yamato, Shinobu, and Momo down a floor to escape Sasaki. Now, with Frankie recognizing Yamato briefly as an ally, he agrees to face Sasaki, with Yamato one-shotting Hacha as thanks. And it looks as if, that air attack had some hockey imbued into it, so now we're 100% aware that, Yamato uses armament hockey. And we've already seen from, say, when Zoro attacked Monet back in Punk Hazard, that ranged attacks such as shockwaves and flying slashers can have their hockey imbued into them. So it's no surprise that Yamato would be strong enough to take out Hacha like that. And speaking of Frankie versus Sasaki, I think it's actually a pretty good matchup. In terms of physicality, Frankie's not one to be underestimated. We really don't know exactly what the height of his limit of physical strength is, especially when it comes to in the General Frankie Shogun, which basically already just boosts his, raw strength, presumably. We don't really get to see it in that much combat use aside from when he took out Buffalo and Baby 5. So I can't wait to see that fight. Barring if it doesn't get interrupted, sidetracked, and swapped around like every other fight we've seen so far. Because so far, none of the matchups we heard of in 991 seem to be going through all the way. Weird, right? But, Before we do switch over, though, Yamato drops a subtle bomb that Momo is needed for the dawn. And that gives Momo a similar status to Shirahoshi in regards to their roles in the story, at least outside of their respective arcs. Now, as for how Momo is needed, That's unknown at the moment, but if anyone's gonna know, it's gotta be Yamato, because that information must have come from Odin's journal. Now, hopefully we get to see that sooner than later, but if we do, that means Yamato also has to survive long enough to give us that information. The next section focused on Law's activities, leading him to a poneglyph that is unfortunately not a road poneglyph. And we actually get a brief flashback to a conversation on Zoe with Robin regarding the D-Clan, which the mystery behind now fuels Law's will to live. Say that 3 times fast. And honestly, that's a good thing, because the fan base had mostly assumed that Law's only real purpose outside of strategy was to die using the immortality procedure, presumably on Luffy. Second presumption, probably on a villain, coerced if not on Luffy. But now we know that Law has finally cemented a goal worth living for that luckily ties him to Luffy, as the poneglyphs are something he needs Robin to translate, and the Alliance at least allows him access to her knowledge. And the flashback also shows a deep amount of trust and understanding between the two as well. So it is good to see that Law is getting along with other members of the crew aside from just Luffy. Now, on top of that, we also get to see the Smile user that Law fights. He takes actual damage, and his broken sword is more shattered instead of cleanly cut, and that shows that Law is abstaining from using his fruit, presumably to save stamina for Kaido. And speaking of preparation for Kaido, Kid and Killer gather an excessive amount of scrap metal in order to fight Kaido. And upon looking at the panel a little bit deeper, I realized that, holy shit, they're literally dragging a mountain, probably a train of just scrap metal behind them at this point. It's literally swallowing up the Beast Pirates as they go, because it's just filling the hall that they're running through. It's kind of insane. That's a lot of metal. And to be fair, they're fighting a Yonko. They're fighting who Killer says is the strongest pirate alive. And yeah, you might need all the metal. Bring it all. But I can't wait, because this gets me hyped to see exactly how Kid's fruit works in combat, you know? Maybe we'll actually get the name for the fruit for once, but that's just me going on. Next, we get 2 back-to-back pages of Kaido and Big Mom. Kaido, in his page, turns the tables, beating the living daylights out of the scabbards, while Big Mom avoids fighting by flying above head in order to join Kaido up top. It's actually looking like Big Mom might actually reach Kaido, making the final fight all the more harrowing. But Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbei are also closing in, reaching the 3rd floor. But Sanji overhears dialogue hinting at a new flirtatious wrinkle in the battle. Now, it's left ambiguous in the official translation, but according to people who have read the scans, Ivankov's signature gag of just kidding was added at the end of the laugh. However, as the gag was not present in the official translation, the laugh is all we could go on. And apparently, Viz did mistranslate the laugh according to people who do speak Japanese. I do not speak Japanese, so I can't really go on either side. The most I can say is, so fine, say the laugh has been mistranslated, but the gag was added as liberties from the translators, or at least the scan translators. So I don't really give a fuck, because I don't speak Japanese, and thanks to No Break next week, I don't have to wait too long for the actual answer. Now, I do not believe we will get Chapter 1000 in 2020, as chances are that Oda will take at least one more break for himself, and Jump will probably take 2. Now, maybe scans will release in 2020 at best, but the official release will definitely usher in 2021. So what did you guys think about the chapter? I personally enjoyed it despite the lack of double spreads that Oda has been spoiling us with recently, but with the hints and implications lined throughout the chapter, it is not one to be overlooked. Now, feel free to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to stay up to date with all my One Piece content. Now, I've been Smalls of Black Knight Anime and Manga. Till next time, stay safe.